Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Soul Talk Radio. Today, I wanted to discuss how and why we fall in love, because that is tied to shadow work, and I find this conversation really interesting. And it's a theory that I stumbled on myself a few years back, and when I discussed it with somebody else who was at the time diving into shadow work, they're like, that's so true. So it's also something that I've written about in my book, so I'll read a small passage from that to you guys today to help kind of reiterate this point. So I know you guys have hopefully listened to some of my previous episodes about shadow work, so I'm hoping with this conversation you have a basic understanding of shadow work, that everything we judge in another is really just a projection of something that's going on with us. So in that same way, the reasons that we fall in love with somebody is a projection of ourselves. What it really boils down to is we fall in love with a romantic partner for one of two reasons. This also includes friendships, but right now I'm particularly talking about romantic partnerships. We either see a quality in them that we love in ourselves, and we also see it in them, so it makes us form a chemical and emotional bond with that person, or we see a quality that we admire in them that we kind of want for ourselves, like we wish we also had that quality. And so that's another reason why we fall in love with them. Again, it's not necessarily about that person, but really about what's going on with us and how we are perceiving the world, and therefore why we fall in love and why we fall in love with certain types of people. There's obviously other things that come into play here, like trauma. We typically seek out partners who give us the same experience that we had in childhood with that particular parent. So for example, if you had a father who was kind of emotionally distant, you might seek out a partner subconsciously who's also emotionally distant because you're trying to repair the relationship that you had with your father. So, it's important to kind of know those things and understand those things so that you're not choosing, let's say you had a father who, treated you like you didn't matter. You might subconsciously choose partners who also treat you like you don't matter. So it's important to kind of understand those things and understand to kind of look back and think, how did my parents treat me? And how does that reflect the way I choose partners? Because if you continue to choose like very toxic partners or partners who are emotionally or physically abusive, it might be time to kind of reflect back on childhood and what happened in my childhood. How did my parents treat me that could possibly be contributing to how I'm subconsciously choosing my partners? However, with that being said, that's also part of it, but it's also a part of ourselves being reflected back in them, and that's why we fall in love with them. So I want to read from a section of my book to kind of help further explain this. So this is in the shadow work section of my book. Don't you fucking dare. Please go pick up a copy. So this section is about a page and a half, and it's called Why We Fall in Love. Just as we tend to push away or are triggered by people who exhibit behaviors we deem as bad or are not ready to own up to, the same goes for the opposite side of the spectrum, falling in love. When we fall in love with someone, it's because we see qualities in them that, one, we also love about ourselves and therefore we recognize in another, or we see qualities in that person we wish we had, believing that we do not already currently possess them. For example, you may fall in love with somebody because of their tremendous empathy, compassion, or humor, while not realizing the desire you feel to be around them is, in part, because you see yourself in them. You see aspects of their personality, behavior, and interests as qualities you also possess or crave possessing. Essentially, you desire aspects of them that are also within you. You love these qualities about yourself, whether you are cognizant of that or not, which you are now seeking in another. In that way, we are falling in love with a version of ourselves, once again demonstrating that our perception of others is a mirror. So the further I dive into shadow work and how really all aspects of this reality are a mirror, which is projecting back a version of our own subconscious in order to look at that and heal and evolve our consciousness, evolve our soul. which includes romantic partnerships. So with all of that being said, you can see how this could also apply to the friendships that we form. A lot of the friendships that we form can also mimic the relationships that we had with our parents, as well as we might see qualities in them that we love about them because we also have those qualities, or they might enjoy the same hobbies as us, again, being a mirror to what we like, or we also see qualities in them that we admire. And we crave having those qualities as well, believing that we don't already possess them. When we do, we possess all traits. But we see a quality in them and we think, just as an example, one of my best friends, Sandra, she is the most compassionate and empathetic person I've ever met in my life. And I love that about her. It's one of my favorite things about her, the fact that she cries at sentimental movies and she's always trying to help people and just do the best she can for the world and humanity. It's my favorite thing about her. And I realized one day that it was something that I admired about her. And it was one of the reasons I wanted to have her close to me and have that friendship and nurture that friendship, not realizing that those qualities are also a part of me. I wouldn't be able to recognize those qualities in another if they weren't also a part of me. So consider that next time that you're seeing qualities in another that you admire or that you love. Those qualities are also a part of you. We're our own worst critic, and we can't seem to oftentimes see or accept the good qualities about ourselves a lot of the times. We're great. We are fantastic at pointing out the qualities we don't like, but we often have a hard time seeing our own value, our own worth, and the beautiful qualities that we possess. So hopefully now you can see why self-awareness in this regard is important, and we're essentially seeking out a part of ourselves in romantic partnerships and friendship, platonic partnerships, and it's a reflection of what's going on inside of us, or a reflection of something that happened in our childhood. It's always a mirror to ourselves and what we're going through and what we've been through and the qualities that we possess. So I find this super interesting, and I find myself thinking about this a lot when I'm possibly seeking out a new partner or developing a new friendship. Also, how we appreciate and love ourselves is also a contributor to the types of partners we seek. For example, just using myself and my own experience, I, in my early 20s, chose partners who didn't treat me that well because I had very low self-esteem and self-worth at the time. So I tended to choose partners who reflected that, unfortunately. And now that I'm healing, and now that I truly am beginning to love myself and love who I am and appreciate who I am, I tend to see now very clearly a lot of the reasons why I chose past partners. The healed version of you does not want to date the same people as the unhealed version of you did. What you seek out in friendships, what you seek out in romantic partnerships completely changes as you begin to love yourself more. And I've been wanting to do an episode on mirror therapy for a while now. Maybe I'll do that in the coming weeks to kind of dive down the main mechanism that helped me start to love and appreciate myself, which was mirror therapy. Just every time I find myself looking in the mirror, telling myself things that I loved about myself, hyping myself up in the mirror, and I still do that to this day. This is also our shadow, everything being a mirror reflection to what's going on inside of us is also part of the reason why we dislike certain people. Okay, there's people that you fall in love with, that you love, that you have an immediate connection with, and there's other people who you kind of have an aversion to. That's because there are aspects of them that are also aspects of you that you don't like about yourself. And you see them in that person being reflected back at you, and you don't like it. So that's why you have an aversion to them. When I come across women nowadays who I can tell are just, maybe very materialistic or very judgmental, I have an immediate aversion to them. Like, I don't want to pursue a friendship with them. That's because I know there was a past version of me who was very similar to that, who could be very judgmental, who could be very materialistic, and I don't like that part of myself. So when I see it in another being reflected back at me, it's not something that I want anymore. So it's it's very important to be able to notice these things and see why we have a craving or an aversion to certain people, to certain personalities. But it doesn't mean that just because I see that, that person is a past version of me, I have compassion for them. I have immense love and compassion for them, and I wish them healing. But that doesn't mean that I need to be their friend. It's okay to want to grow and evolve and to choose people who help us do that, who help us to evolve to our best version of self. It's okay to choose to be around those type of people and to engage in relationship with those type of people. That is okay. Okay, but it is also important to realize that our aversion to certain people is because it has to do with something that we are dealing with, something inside of ourselves. And so I see those people, I don't judge those people for being judgmental. I try not to. I simply see them as a past version of me. So judging them as being like, oh, they're being so judgmental, that would just be judgment coming in the back door through my own mind, and me also judging a past version of myself, which isn't helpful. I used to be them, so judging them would just be judgment coming in again through the back door. So hopefully you enjoyed today's episode. I know I've said it before, but I'm going to say it again. My new book, Don't You Fucking Dare, is available for purchase on Amazon. The link to purchase will be below for you. The book is a guide to learning about the ego voice, helping you to disconnect from the ego voice, as well as diving into shadow work and the many tools that I've learned along my healing journey. I also offer coaching services. If you're interested in a session with me, please visit my website, meganshirey.com. I'm also a meditation instructor on the Insight Timer app. I teach there every Sunday at 10 Eastern Standard Time, so if you'd like to join us on the app, or I also live stream it to my Facebook page, which is also below. If you enjoyed these episodes, please like, share, comment, and subscribe. It helps us to expand this community, and may you be happy, may you be well, may you be joyous and at ease, sending you infinite love and light. And until next time.